Welcome to this 360 tour of the Britvic Rugby factory. We're currently standing at the entrance to the site where you can see the gatehouse, housing the security and delivery receptions in front of you, and directly behind them is Rugby 1, which houses 9 lines producing products in both cans and plastic PET bottles. The Rugby site consists of 4 buildings. The blue building to your right is Rugby 2, housing administration and some minor storage. To the right of that is Rugby 3, and finally, just out of sight, is Rugby 4, which we'll visit later. It houses storage for the huge variety of multi-pack formats produced by all 4 of our product lines, receiving dozens of trucks every day. Watch out for that one. Our next stop is the syrup room, where production for PET and cans begins. This room is where the syrups for our product batches are crafted before being sent down to storage, ready for production. On the pallets in front of us and in the blue boxes beside them are some of the various ingredients used to produce the wide array of syrups required by the factory. The mix of each syrup is finely calculated, ensuring each batch is perfect every time. Behind you are the concentration stations, where liquid concentrates are added to the mix tanks below. This side of the room is where syrups destined for canning are mixed, but if we head over to the other side where PET products are mixed, we can see a pour in progress. Over here is where mixes destined for our PET products are made, and you can see one of our syrup room operatives pouring dry ingredients into a hopper connected to the giant mix tanks below. We're now just below the syrup room in the mixing room. Directly below us are the caustic tanks used for cleaning out the huge mixing tanks in front of us and all of our lines. Standing at around 10 meters high, these stainless steel containers weigh in at over 2 metric tons and can each hold up to 45,000 litres of liquid. Once the correct ingredients are entered, these colossal tanks mix them with water, producing batches of up to 40,000 litres of syrup, which is stored until requested by the required line. Before we leave syrup production, it's worth a visit to the lab. This is the nerve centre of syrup production, where the syrup room operators carefully monitor, test and manage every step of syrup creation. At the back of the room you can see 2 large screens. On the left is the short interval control board, where they keep track of what jobs are in progress, what has been done and what needs doing. Next to this is the CIP board, known as the SIPS board. This stands for Cleans in Place and keeps track of the dizzying array of cleans that are required in order to make a tank ready for its next syrup. With over 15 different types of clean, ranging from a cold water flush to a 5-stage caustic cycle, this board is essential. If you turn to your right, you'll see the testing stations where each batch is tested to stringent specifications using an auto-titrator to measure the acid content, and at the back of the room, an HPLC machine to measure the exact chemical composition. Finally, at the stations to your right, you'll see computers running supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA screens, which control the entire mixing process. Now let's head down to the factory floor and see how these syrups are put to use. At our Rugby facility, syrups are packaged in both cans and plastic PET bottles. Each follows a similar yet slightly differentiated route, so let's touch on both as we show you around. Here you can see the debander, the very start of the canning line and part of the entirely automated depalletizer process. You can see here 2 pallets containing stacks of 8,073 cans, stacked in 23 layers of 351 cans per layer. The stacks are loaded onto the depalletizer infeed and are conveyed to the debander seen here. Watch as the bands holding the cans in place are automatically removed and granulated into the waste stream before the entire stack moves on towards the depalletizer proper. Now we're up close and personal with the depalletizer. If you look carefully, you can see each layer of cans entering the machine. A robot arm removes the top frame and sheet from the pallet, and then, layer by layer, the cans are swept onto the line and conveyed towards the filler. As the cans make their way to filling, they're coded with information by the laser writer. Here, vital information including the best before date, production line, as well as the time and day of production, are laser written to the bottom of each can, providing vital traceability for every product produced. As mentioned earlier, this factory produces both plastic PET products as well as cans, so let us take a step out of the canning process to see the equivalent point in PET production. In front of us now is the preform blower, where up to 900 preforms a minute are shaped into bottles using a combination of heat, moulds and air pressure. Before reaching here, these small, hard preformed pieces of plastic pass through inspectors before entering into the oven, where they're heated, ready for moulding here. To your right, through the window, you should be able to make out the newly formed bottles being cooled, ready for filling. This machine is the base cooler, and attached to it, down to your right, is the refrigeration unit, which cools the bottles. Now back at the canning process, we're in front of the can filler, where the empty cans we saw earlier are filled with product. Through the window, you can see 2,000 cans per minute being filled by volumetric filling valves before having lids applied. If you look to the left, you can see the lid feeder sending a steady supply of lids for interlocking and compression in a two-stage process that seals in the product for maximum freshness. If you turn back to your right, you can see the thousands of filled and sealed cans rushing past ready for packaging. While cans are filled and seamed, bottles are filled and capped. Here we're on the other side of the base cooler, and you should be able to make out the empty blown bottles as they enter the filling process. To your left, volumetric filling valves fill the bottles with product before going through the capping process, using capping chucks that twist to the required torque, creating the perfect seal. If you look behind the stairs to your left, you can see the testing stations where our technical operators monitor the acidity of the product, as well as measuring the size, weight and strength of our blown bottles. Here we're at labelling, where filled bottles arrive to be labelled. The labellers use two aggregate stations alternately, with each one labelling every other bottle. This allows labelling speeds of up to 54,000 bottles per hour. Each station uses technology to apply the label and inspect it at the same time. If you turn behind you, you'll see the packaging process, where the labelled bottles are brought together into the desired multi-pack size and wrapped and sealed in their cardboard sleeves. From this perspective, we get a great view of the entire filling and packaging area. To the left, we can see individual, filled cans heading towards the shrink wrapper. To the right of this line, wrapped cans emerge as 24-can multi-packs on their way to the palletizer. If you look behind, you can see the innovative spiral conveyor whisking multi-packs up to the first stage of the palletizer on the second floor. But before we head there, let's take a closer look at the shrink wrapper. Once filled cans enter the packaging machines, depending on the requirement, they are sorted into the desired configuration, ready for wrapping. Today they're in 24 individual can per tray configuration, but the machine can handle 3x8 packs, 4x6 packs and 2x12 packs if required. There are two packaging machines, both of which work on the same principle. A multi-packer that wraps cans in various multi-pack films, and the machine in front of us, the tray shrink packer, which wraps the entire 24-can configuration in film. Note the perfect alignment of each tray. Thanks to markings on the film, the machine can judge the exact alignment every time. Once film is applied, the cans are transferred through the heat tunnel, which shrinks the film to the case or pack required. Now we enter the first stage of palletization, the sorter. Here, two robot arms shift the incoming cases into the correct layer formation, ready for stacking onto the pallet. The principle is the same for bottles or cans, regardless of pack size. The arms align everything into the ideal configuration for the pallet, allowing the layers to interlock with each other, preventing issues during transportation. Unlike cans, where interlocking plus a little glue alone will hold the stack safely during transport, PET containers require stretch wrapping. Here you can see stacks of PET containers, neatly stacked and fresh from sorting, enter the stretch wrapper, The bottles are then circumvented a precise amount of times in order to hold them safe while minimising plastic usage. Once completed, pallets transfer to the end of the line, signalling the automated guided vehicles, or AGVs, to come and collect them. These pre-programmed vehicles are laden with sensors and programmed to avoid each other. We have sped up the footage to give a unique perspective of their motion. Now, from this unique perspective, we can ride with one of the AGVs as it goes about its work. With several AGVs operating at any time, they weave a complex dance across the loading bay floor, collecting up to 4 pallets per journey and delivering them to wherever the algorithm designates. The entire process is fully automated. Pallets will be transported to either the hydro roll and loaded into the back of a lorry, or transferred to Pallet Island, which then transfers to our high bay warehouse, Rugby 4. Smaller AGVs supply our lines with stacks of empty pallets. Finally, we're at the end point of our journey, Rugby 4. This is our finished goods storage location and holds an incredible amount of product. With capacity for up to 32,000 pallets or 92 million cans, this is one of the largest drink storage locations in the UK. Operations here are fully automated. If you look below, you can see product heading down the conveyor, fresh from the main storage, ready to be loaded onto the correct lorry. And from here you can see one of the robotic cranes able to collect several pallets at a time from the depths of the vast warehouse space. Thank you for taking this 360-degree tour of the Britvic Rugby factory. We hope you've enjoyed the insight into how our operations here run.